let's get to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. I know that there was a lot there, and we're going to watch the first 10 minutes of his press conference. I would encourage you to watch the entire thing, all 36 minutes. We're going to watch the first 10 minutes, and then there's another section right around here where he's asked a very important question, and we will watch that, and then we'll bring this to a close, today's episode to a close. Let's give this a watch.
Good afternoon. I'm glad you came here because I'd like to take the opportunity to puncture the lies and tell the truth. The truth is that Hamas still has thousands of armed terrorists in Gaza. It vows to repeat the savagery of the October 7th massacre and to do so again and again and again. It openly professes its goal to destroy the state of Israel. It subjugates Gazans. It steals their food. It shoots them when they try to move to safe zones. And I think it's instructive that now many Gazans are fighting back. They're begging us, they're begging the world, free us, and free Gaza from Hamas. No.
And there are those Palestinians. As I've mentioned before, when we're talking about the evil of communism or the evil of any lie exalting state or nation or governance, it's not this top-down thing. It's bottom-up. The Palestinians elected Hamas to rule over them. And now, 18 years later, yes, there are Palestinians that are going, these people are terrible. These people, they murder us. They use us as human shields. They steal aid that is intended for us. They steal the aid that's intended for us and take it down into the tunnels. Like, we hate Hamas. Yes, there are Palestinians who hate Hamas, while there still are plenty of Palestinians that love and celebrate and support Hamas. But there are those people, just as we see with the Soviet Union, China, Mao's China, North Korea. There's always going to be what the Bible calls the remnant. There's always going to be that minority of people that, even if they were in the wickedness and the perversions and the lies, they eventually wake up to it and they go, wow, I don't want this anymore. I want something better. I want something greater. I want the truth. Masab Hassan Yosef, perfect example of that. The son of one of the founders of Hamas, and he eventually wakes up and rejects Hamas, rejects Islam, comes to the United States, becomes a Christian. He eventually rejects all of the evil of his former false prophet Muhammad, the one that he was born to trust, raised into trust. Just as I was born in the false man-made religion of Mormonism. I was born and raised in Mormonism to love, to honor, to trust, to revere Joseph Smith Jr., the founder of Mormonism. Praise God Almighty, God opened up my eyes to the truth of his word to realize that Joseph Smith Jr. is just another one of these Muhammad types. He's a false prophet. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's what he is. Masab Hassan Yosef woke up, came out from the lies to embrace the truth. I, by God's grace, woke up, came out from the lies to embrace the truth. There's always going to be those people. However, still, when it comes to the majority of Palestinians, there's still, when it comes to the evil of Islam, maybe you're even going to get to a point where the majority of Palestinians are against Hamas, but you're still not going to have the majority of Palestinians against the root evil, which is Islam. That's the root evil. You want to be liberated from that? Only the truth. Only the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God, has the power to do that.
No nation can accept a genocidal terrorist organization, an organization committed to its annihilation, a stone's throw from its citizens. Our goal is not to occupy Gaza. Our goal is to free Gaza, free it from Hamas terrorists. The war can end tomorrow if Gaza, or rather if Hamas lays down its arms and releases all the remaining hostages. Gaza will be demilitarized. Israel will have overriding security responsibility. A security zone will be established on Gaza's border with Israel to prevent future terrorist incursions. A civilian administration will be established in Gaza that will seek to live in peace with Israel. That's our plan for the day after Hamas, and let me summarize it. 5 principles for concluding the war. 1, Hamas disarmed. 2nd, all hostages freed. 3rd, Gaza demilitarized. 4th, Israel has overriding security control. And 5, non-Israeli peaceful civilian administration. By that I mean a civilian administration that doesn't educate its children for terror, doesn't pay terrorists, and doesn't launch terrorist attacks against Israel. That's what we want to see in Gaza. So it's neither Hamas nor the PA.
It's not going to be Hamas, obviously. Hamas is going to be destroyed. And it's also not going to be the PA. It's not going to be the Palestinian Authority. Praise God.
That's our plan. Given Hamas's refusal to lay down its arms, Israel has no choice but to finish the job and complete the defeat of Hamas. Now, we've done a great deal. We have about 70 to 75% of Gaza under Israeli control, military control. But we have 2 remaining strongholds, okay? These are Gaza City and the central camps in the Muasi. That's roughly, it's schematically presented here, but it's fairly accurate. Last Thursday, Israel's Security Cabinet, instructed the IDF to dismantle the 2 remaining Hamas strongholds in Gaza City and the central camps. Contrary to false claims, this is the best way to end the war and the best way to end it speedily. We will do so by first enabling the civilian population to safely leave the combat areas to designated safe zones. In these safe zones, they'll be given ample food, water, and medical care, as we've done before. And again, contrary to false claims, our policy throughout the war has been to prevent a humanitarian crisis, while Hamas's policy has been to create it. Since the beginning of the war, Israel has let in close to 2 million tons of aid. I know of no other army that has enabled such aid to go to the civilian population in enemy territory. Now, if we had a...
Because there isn't one. No nation and no military has ever been expected to provide aid to the enemy, to the civilian population of the enemy. Never been expected before, but only Israel. And they do. 2 million tons of aid sent. But what happens to a lot of it?
Starvation policy. No one in Gaza would have survived after 2 years of war. But our policy has been the exact opposite. We let in, as I said, almost 2 million tons of aid and sent millions of text messages, millions of phone calls to Gazans to get out of harm's way. Yet in the last few months, Hamas has violently looted the aid trucks meant to get to Palestinian civilians. They deliberately created a shortage of supply. And the UN consistently refused, until recently, to distribute the thousands of trucks that we led into Gaza through the Kerem Shalom crossing. So our problems, we've had tons of uncollected food rotting on the Gazan side of the border because the UN was and still is unwilling to deliver all of it. Here are the tons and tons and tons of humanitarian aid that Israel led in to the Gazan side of the Kerem Shalom crossing, just sitting there.
And it's something that's so easy for anyone to confirm this for yourself, to confirm the truth for yourself, that videos by the dozens of all of the, like, football field size areas of just pallets and pallets of, tons, just a huge amount, many tens of thousands of tons of food and aid that the UN has just not been taking into Gaza. Or videos, dozens of videos, I've seen these, you can check them out for yourself. Again, it's so easy to do, of Hamas hijacking trucks that is full of the aid and running it right out of the civilian areas. Because that's what Hamas does. They create the crisis. They are the ones who started it. They're the ones that are perpetuating it.
Because it's not distributed. So now we're going to go around this obstacle. We are going around it by doing three things. One, can I show this, please? Okay. Designating safe corridors for humanitarian aid distribution. No, that's showing the problem, not showing the solution, but here it is. First, designating rather safe corridors for aid distribution. You can drive trucks there and you'll be safe. Second, increasing the number of safe distribution points managed by the Gazan humanitarian foundations. And three, airdrops. That's airdrops done by the Israeli Air Force, and we're inviting others to join us. The result has been a humanitarian surge, which we're coordinating with President Trump and his team, and hundreds of trucks have gone in recent days. This is preventing hunger, but it's not prevented the global campaign of lies that we have all witnessed. So in Gaza, despite Hamas's obstacles, 2 million people are now getting access to humanitarian aid. But I'll tell you who isn't. The only ones that are being deliberately starved in Gaza are our hostages. This is Evyatar David. Look at his hand, at his arm. He's being deliberately starved by these Hamas monsters. And look at the Hamas captor. Look at the difference. He's eating, and he's...
Yeah, the Hamas captor, he's getting plenty of food. He's getting plenty of food. You can see that so very clearly.
Eating well. The purpose of this news conference is to puncture the lies and spread the truth, but that distortion has been propelled around the earth, almost the way that the Jewish people were maligned in the Middle Ages. Every massacre of the Jewish people was preceded by massive vilification. We were said to be spreading vermin to Christian societies. We were said to be poisoning the wells. We were said to slaughter Christian children for their blood. And as these lies spread around the globe, they were followed by horrific massacres, pogroms, displacements, finally culminating in the worst massacre of them all, the Holocaust.
Because once again, when you are in a society that speaks the lies, that utters lies from their hearts, there's no justice, no righteousness, no truth, no honesty. Truth is nowhere to be found. And whoever shuns evil becomes a prey. Whoever shuns evil becomes a prey. And as the Jews, and this is important, and this is what's so extraordinary about the Word of God. So this is Isaiah chapter 59. And it's one of these profound evidences that the Holy Bible is true. Because when it comes to the Holy Bible, it is not hesitant in the slightest to point out evil wherever it is being done, even if it's being done by God's people. That's the context of Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 59, what we've been going through, the context is Israel at the time, 2,700 years ago, in the time of Isaiah, was doing this evil. And this is the result of doing the evil. And here are the consequences. The consequences for doing evil, you have the northern kingdom of Israel that was destroyed by Assyria, and then once again the southern kingdom of Judah, conquered by Babylon. They were brought back to the land after the 70-year captivity, and then ultimately, many centuries later, when they fell once again into wickedness and evil, conquered by the Romans. Like, if this was a false book, then why would the people that it centers around, why does it point out their flaws? Why does it point out their shortcomings? Why does it point out where they go wrong and what they did that was wrong and the consequences that they rightly deserved for doing wrong? It's a true book. It points the finger where the finger needs to be pointed at. And it's for all the world, and that God's people, the house of Israel, have been used as an example, that they've been given the responsibility from God and acted as this example, that if you do similar things, the same thing's going to happen to you. But once again, God restores them, the covenant is fulfilled, he brings them back to the land, and he's with them. That just as he brought those consequences on their ancestors for their wickedness of their ancestors, in the latter days he does good to them, and he's with them, and he protects them. But as the Jews were scattered among all the nations of the world, and among the nations of the world for close to 2,000 years before they were restored to their land, to the Holy Land, they suffered the exact same thing. All of these people that they're among, they utter the lies about the Jews, and the ultimate result is that the Jews who were shunning evil, they become the prey. That every single time that there was destruction among the Jews, what preceded it was intense vilification.
Spread the truth, but that distortion has been propelled around the earth, almost the way that the Jewish people were maligned in the Middle Ages. Every massacre of the Jewish people was preceded by massive vilification. We were said to be spreading vermin to Christian societies. We were said to be poisoning the wells. We were said to slaughter Christian children for their blood. And as these lies spread around the globe, they were followed by horrific massacres, pogroms, displacements, finally culminating in the worst massacre of them all, the Holocaust. Today, the Jewish state is being maligned in a similar way. Everything that I told you could be verified easily, but it hasn't. And the international press has bought hook, line, and sinker Hamas statistics, Hamas claims, Hamas forgeries, and Hamas photographs. For example, these three children. The first one is Osama al-Raqub. He is in Italy getting treatment because Israel got him out. That's what he looks like today. He has a genetic disease that damages the lungs and digestive system. It makes it hard to absorb nutrients and gain weight. Okay?
These three photographs of these children, all three of them have genetic disorders, but these are the children that Hamas have used in order to spread this narrative that Israel has been starving the Palestinians. And guess who saved this boy? Did Hamas save this boy? No. Israel comes in, finds him, pulls him out, and gets him the treatment he needs. Israel does this because Israel is good.
So Israel facilitated Osama's travel to Italy, where he got the medical aid that transformed his position. The second one is Abdul Qadir al-Fayumi. He suffers from a genetic neurological disorder, spinal muscular atrophy, a degenerative condition that causes muscle wasting, weakness, and severe weight loss unrelated to nutrition. This was the real cause of his frail appearance, not starvation. In fact, he was treated in Israel in 2018. Doesn't help because it's a congenital disease and it defies most treatment at least. The third one is the most celebrated one. This is a New York Times cover photo. It's on the front page of Muhammad Zakaria Ayub and his mother. Muhammad Zakaria Ayub is suffering from a genetic illness which you're familiar with. It's called cerebral palsy. His mother is well fed and his brother is healthy. I'm looking right now into the possibility of a governmental suit against the New York Times because this is outrageous. Of course, the correction was postage size. I don't know where it was buried. But this is outrageous. These are the three most celebrated photos.
Yeah, so the New York Times comes out and they post a correction, but it doesn't matter. It's this little tiny little paragraph that's buried somewhere. But as far as on the cover of the New York Times, we're going to shoot this photograph out of this kid that has cerebral palsy. Look what Israel's doing. They're starving the Palestinians. It's lies are literally satanic because they will always come from Satan. Just as Islam is satanic because it comes from Satan.
And they're all fake. It's the kind of malignant lies that were leveled at the Jewish people in the Middle Ages. We won't suffer. We won't allow it to go unchallenged. And this is the purpose of this press conference. I hope that you open your eyes to a simple fact. Hamas lies. Now you can ask me any question you want.
Now you can ask me any question you want. Please, check it out for yourself once again. But there is one section that I would love to cover. Let's see if I can find this really quickly. Let's get to the actual question. Let's get to the question.
To live in peace. There are candidates. I don't want to spoil the chances of succeeding here because I think they're real. But they're real providing we finish the job. See, no one's going to go in there if we don't finish the job. We can talk about the day after until eternity. No one's going to go in there unless we finish Hamas, and we're able to finish Hamas. And we will finish Hamas.
And that answer actually was to another really good question. It was asking about who is the authority that's going to actually be running Gaza, the civilian authority that's not going to be Hamas and not going to be the Palestinian Authority. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that there are options that we're looking at, and there is a really good possibility. He talks about that, but then it says, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil it because we have to finish the job first. We have to go in and finish the job. I don't want to spoil it. I would love it to be. I would love it to be the United States, but is that what's going to happen? I don't know. President Trump talked about it. President Trump put that out there. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu talked about it. He's like, that's a great possibility. I would love to see that. But once again, is that what's going to happen? Only time will tell. But he does talk about how, in answer to that question directly, who's going to be the one that's going to run Gaza? And he said, you know what? I don't want to spoil it. But getting to the next question, then we'll conclude with this.
Yes, Welt TV Germany. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. So the German Chancellor has once again defended his decision not to send weapons to Israel, which can be used in Gaza. He said a friendship can and must withstand that. From your perspective, what has changed in this relationship?
Look, I respect Friedrich Merz. I think he's been a good friend of Israel, but I think he's buckled under. He's buckled under the pressure of false TV reports, the pressure, internal pressure from various groups. And I can say this, and I don't want to talk about him specifically, but I want to say this. Look, maybe some choose to forget October 7th. We will not forget what happened. And we will do whatever it takes to defend our country and defend our people, defend our future. We will win the war, with or without the support of others. But I think that there's an issue here. And the issue is many leaders tell me, look, we know you're right, but we can't stand, in the face of the public opinion in our country, especially European leaders. They tell me that over and over again. And I say, that is your problem. It is not our problem. It is not our problem. In Munich, everybody celebrated Munich. Everybody celebrated the capitulation in Munich, the Munich Peace Conference, peace in our time. Okay, and everybody lambasted Churchill who opposed it. So what? The difference now is maybe they thought then that there was a real chance for peace by succumbing to the Nazis. But I don't believe anybody seriously thinks that now. And we're facing neo-Nazis. Chancellor Merz's predecessor was here, okay? And he, on the first or second day of the war, he was there, on the first days of the war. And he said to me, they're exactly like the Nazis. And they are. And we're not going to leave. We're not going to leave the Nazi, the remainder of the Nazi army, in the equivalent of Berlin. Don't go into Berlin and don't finish off the Nazi army, the German army. Of course not. I mean, that's what people are telling us to do. And I'm not going to do it. And the Israeli people are not going to do it. We're going to do it. And we have enough criticism within, but the majority of the people, if you really check it, the majority of the people say, that's a result we can't afford if we want to live here. So we're going to do what we need to do. And I hope that Chancellor Merz changes his policy. And you know when he'll change his policy, for sure? When we win.
That there are many that in private, many leaders in private say, we know you're right, and we know that what you're doing is what you need to do, but we can't actually come out publicly and support you because we can't go against the public pressure. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says, that is your problem. That is not our problem. Such people are extreme cowards and have no right to be the leader of anything or anyone. Such people are no better than what comes to my mind is actually the Gospel of John chapter 12. That there were those among the religious leaders in ancient Judea, ancient Jerusalem, among the Pharisees. There were those that knew that Jesus was right, that he was true. He was a true prophet sent by God. But they refused to acknowledge him publicly because they were afraid of the ruling authority. They were afraid of the Sanhedrin. They were afraid of excommunication. They were afraid of being put out of the synagogues. And so they acknowledged him privately, but they refused to acknowledge him publicly. Such people are cowards. And just as it says in the Gospel of John, chapter 12, in that very section, and they did this because they loved the praises of men more than they loved the praise of the only God. Such is true for these cowardly leaders, that privately, they stand with Israel, but publicly, they're against Israel. Such people, you don't stand with Israel at all. Such people are among those that Jesus would say to them that you denied me publicly. You refused to stand with me publicly. So I will deny you before my Father in heaven.